So remember that they are changing my voice. So earlier I asked that female what she thought a relationship between a man and a woman should be. And she kind of tried to look at it in terms of a relationship between people in general. And so I'm going to give you the answers there. They should put God first in truth and really scramble to make sure they have it right. No propaganda, no lies, no theater arts, no psychology, but scrambling to be precisely right, which requires understanding Proverbs 16:12. Are you cheating anybody out of anything? Remember, it was Zacchaeus, the tax collector. He said if he cheated anyone out of anything, that he's going to pay them back. I think he said double or with interest. So they have to ask themselves, are they right with God? Are they cheating anybody? They have to ask with all their heart. They have to scramble to purge their heart of sin. They must not have a callous or insensitive heart. They must have a mature and just and righteous heart. So what does it mean to have a true relationship? Is to be in the divine order. And to choose wisely, to use discernment, to choose correctly, to scramble to make sure that romantic justice is applied masterfully, with tact, strategically, masterfully. The words precision and decision are connected. And you have to precisely choose wisely, especially in regards to dating. The word date has to do with time. How do you spend your time on this planet? Date, mate, rate, late, fate, hate. Why does God detest the perverse in heart? Partially because of sexual immorality, because of theft and murder, because they've yoked themselves to the wicked and they seek to kill the upright. They seek to defeat and cheat the upright. But no insight and planning can defeat God. You cannot triumph over God or the righteous. So true love comes with a profound moral, mental, spiritual, and romantic conveyance. Moral, mental, spiritual, and romantic excellence. Moral, mental, spiritual, and romantic prowess. And scramble with all your heart to be correct. That's also what it takes to have a valid marriage. That's what it takes to be holy and moral. There's no way to be holy without being romantic. The two are connected. That's why when the Greeks and the Romans worship Eros and Cupid, that they're way off. Aphrodite, Venus. They go after erotic desire, hermaphroditus, right? Where we get the word hermaphrodite. That's not true love. They didn't even accept who they are. What I say to the transsexuals is accept who you naturally are born as. If you're born a little off from a female, then that's who you are. But understand what is the fair way to proceed. And before you complain about anything I've said, make sure that you remove the log from your own eye. Before you complain, try to make sure that you're right. Do you really want to give a righteous man a hard time? Same with the LGBT community, same with people who are straight, people who don't like the fact that I insist on true love. They don't like the fact that I insist on the moral order. God is not the author of disorder, but of peace with God through the moral order, through the chain of commands, obeying the commandments with all of your heart. So true love is after, it's like true love. The example I'll give is true love is like a man who gave a speech to a bunch of people who didn't want to hear what he has to say, saying the most important things with the sharp double-edged sword of Scripture. And as his heart is hurt, he then wants to hold a woman he's in love with all of his heart. Wants to hold her, and he wants to feel at peace. He wants to go up to heaven with his wife in his arms. Say, who has gone up to heaven and come back down? Well, I'm in the Father, and the Father is in me. And those who seek to be one with God come into the Spirit I'm in, through the gate of my heart, the gate of my soul. And when I go up to heaven and come back down, they go up to heaven and come back down. When I strike with cloud burst, thunderstorm and hail in the Spirit of God, in the Father, they are with me, sharing in my victories, rejoicing in my victories, finding true love in the Spirit that I've found it in. And when I say true love in this instance, I mean the true love that comes from God. I'm not married, I'm single, and, society's been rather harsh with me in that regard. People making ridiculous demands of me. You must do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you were the top martial artist, would you want to be treated, so unfairly? If you love God more than everyone else, would you want to be shunned? Would you want people to insist on mere human rules, customs, and traditions? Would you want to look at a world where the poor are abused, where the vulnerable and the susceptible are taken advantage of? They're sexually exploited and exploited in other ways. Would you want to see that and wonder why people won't scramble and correct it? What are you afraid of, you of little faith? Your flesh being cut down? Why do you fear your flesh being harmed and not your soul? Why do you fear offending the oppressor and why don't you fear offending God? Why don't you love God enough to fear letting God down? Why won't you achieve grace instead of disgrace? Why won't you have true principle instead of being unprincipled? Why won't you zoom in on the characteristics and make sure that you have them correct? So even as I say this, my heart aches. It's the truth. It needs to be said. It's painful. The implications of my words are painful. They're potent. The implications of the arrows that are flying through the spiritual realm at the enemy of God, at the demons, they're quite impressive. They're quite significant and profound. That's why the word profound is a play on words for profound. When I raise my flashing sword and my hand takes hold in judgment while I'm right with God, in accord with God, I will take vengeance on God's enemies and repay those who hate God, the dishonest, the hate the upright, the bloodthirsty who seek to kill the upright in heart. As I raise my flashing sword in the true form of God, in the true form of divine martial arts, as I raise my flashing sword to please God, to glorify God, to find peace in glorifying God, to find truth and justice and righteousness in glorifying God. As I raise my flashing sword that gleams like lightning, that gleams like the sun, as I shine like the sun on my righteous path, as I accept the course that God has laid before me, as I raise my flashing sword at the enemies of God with all my heart, with all my love, with all my loyalty and faith in God, as I ride forth in the cause of truth, justice, and humility and faithfulness, as I refuse to neglect the more important matters of the law, the greatest commandment, the golden rule, as I store riches in heaven, as I masterfully strike with my flashing sword, as I bring down the wrath of God in the true Spirit of God, with true consistency with God's requirements. As I see what remains to be done, because the Spirit of God does not make us timid, it gives us power and discipline and a sound mind. As I finish what I've started with all my heart. The word heart is a play on words for heart. Corazon, core, alpha zone. Core, the center, the heart of the matter, the heart of the spiritual matter. As I clash with the spirits of adversity, as my challenge made clear to all the Satanists that God is triumphant. Truly, one must know that it is I proclaiming victory, proclaiming victory, mighty to save, proof, of, striding forth in the splendor of victory with the humility that's required to come into the Spirit of God and to triumph masterfully. I seek to please God and not to please mankind. Your will be done, my Father in heaven, your will be done. Wherever it takes me, Whenever you're calling me home, God, don't hesitate. You are in charge. Call me home. Your Son seeks to return to you, where I'm loved, where I'm accepted. Not in this planet where I'm persecuted for doing your work. But whenever you want me to leave, I will leave. Whenever you want me to stay, I will stay.